So you have your central gateway. On one side of central gateway, your IPC is connected, which is your instrument panel cluster. And then through the other CAN, your in-vehicle infotainment system is connected. Okay, let's just take this very simple network into our consideration, and we will try to identify that what could be the possible attack surface for this IPC, okay, for this instrument panel cluster. Fine. So the attack surface could be what are the functionalities which has been implemented into the in-vehicle infotainment system. Okay, so when you identify the attack surface, it is not necessary that you find the attack surface only on this ECU, because this ECU, if you see, is connected only to CAN. Okay, CAN 1 and CAN 2, but this ECU could be compromised if these two ECUs could be compromised. Okay, so the basic attack surface could not be here; it could be here itself. Okay, over the in-vehicle infotainment system. Okay, so your Wi-Fi or Bluetooth could be your attack surface, your cellular radio, which are the long-range wireless communication. Okay, your GPS, your multimedia, which is all over your in-vehicle infotainment system. Your USB could be there. Wi-Fi or cellular network could also be over the gateway. Okay, so gateway could also have the cellular connectivity. Fine. So corresponding to these attack surface that I have identified over that network, what could be the possible attacks? Then I will try to understand. Okay, so corresponding to the Wi-Fi, there could be packet sniffing, jamming, man-in-the-middle attack, or the protocol-related exploits. Okay, you have the DOIP and everything implemented, diagnostics over IP. So there are protocol-related exploits that could be possible. What could be the method? So I will try to understand now if these are the attacks, what could be the method to do these attacks? Okay, so let's say a port can show vulnerability. So I will scan the ports, all the ports, and I find that there is a port which has a vulnerability such as service listening without a valid credential. Okay, this could be a possible open port which could be compromised and could be used for these attacks. Okay, what kind of attack class it is? It is a denial. It could be a denial of service attack or information disclosure attack. Okay, so using this particular attack, the attacker could do the denial of service. So any service which need to be done, which need to be performed, will not be happening. Okay, or some information could be sniffed and which not be disclosed is disclosed. Okay, this could be a possible attack class. Similarly, you have your cellular and radio GPS, which are long range. So you can have your GPS tracking apps and GPS spoofing. Okay, what could be the method? Default user account password found in the GPS tracker apps. Okay, which is such as like pre-track or iTrack by reverse engineering. Okay, then GPS spoofing by a low-cost portable GPS spoof. This is generally it has been observed that many a times this is done. Okay, there were many cases also because of this GPS spoofing has happened. Okay, so what could be the attack class? Reverse engineering could be an attack class. Okay, reverse engineering and spoofing could be the attack class. Okay. Then for the multimedia playback, you have your CD-ROM, audio over Bluetooth, Apple CarPlay, and all. Okay, the first track, the Jeep Cherokee attack that I was talking about, was over your Uconnect system, which was basically your in-vehicle infotainment system. And when your IVI was compromised, the attacker were able to compromise all the other ECU. Okay, so that's why most of the attack surface could be over your IVI system. Okay, so this is also related to your IVI system, multimedia playback. Okay, so especially if you talk about the possible attacks, what could be the possible attacks? Especially prepared media files can be used to tamper the media, engine services, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi attacks. So you have a USB stick which could be used to reflash your system again. Okay. In this Jeep Cherokee attack, there was a facility that by default this USB was used to reflash the ECU. It was the method which was used by the OEM, and the attackers were able to exploit this method to reflash their software into the ECU. Okay, so in this way, this particular attack surface could be compromised. Okay, and method could be use the Trojan CD as I told you, and researchers were able to turn on a song burnt on in the CD into a Trojan horse. So a virus could be inserted into your vehicle. What is the attack class? Your social engineering tampering. This is the attack class. Okay, why social engineering tampering? Let's say you go into a Uber and you ask the user, the driver, that okay, I want to plug my USB and play my songs. Okay, maybe he will be able to allow you. Okay, so this could be a social engineering tampering. USB port, I have identified it differently because it is one of the major attack surface. So it could be again used for the multimedia playback, firmware software updates are done using the USB. Okay, and you could run shell scripts or install the unauthorized software using the USB. Okay, so method could be you can craft a malicious USB and you could use it. Again, the attack class is your social engineering. Okay, now corresponding to these attack effects and your attack class, if you talk about the damage, which is your functional effect, what could be the functional effect? So if your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth is compromised, okay, then this it could be possible that attacker can display wrong data of the incoming calls. Okay, display call alert without the actual call. Sending message with the high frequency, so denial of service could be done. Okay, generation bus off condition. So your CAN could be CAN bus will be off if there is a condition for a particular CAN bus off is generated. Okay, so get confidential user information. So your information could be leaked. Fine. If your cellular radio network is compromised by reverse engineering or spoofing, then sending wrong turn indications could be done. Okay, or after the route to destination, or even the destination could even change. Okay, then change navigation information such as time or distance. You can do all those things, which could really put the user into a trouble. Okay. In case of multimedia, which could also be done using the social engineering tampering, you can show slang on the screen, on the infotainment screen, or alter the functional behavior of the which all those entertainment things which are running over your API. The songs you can change. Okay, anything you can do over the infotainment system. And if you talk about the compromise to the internal network, your data integrity could be compromised, data authenticity, you can generate the error, periodicity, buffer overflow conditions you can produce, then your availability could be compromised, and your confidentiality could also be compromised. So this is how we identify the damages which are done in by compromising an attack surface of an ECU. And when you identify these functional effects, these are the damages that you identify. You identify what is the percentage of impact. Okay, so you identify a number from 1 to 5, and you give a number of impact. Okay, so let's say display wrong data of the incoming call is not a major impact. It is not going to threat the life. Okay, so its rating could be 1. Okay, then changing the route is more severe attack than just changing the incoming call information. Okay, so the rating could be 2 or 3, and if there is some damage which is literally the life threatening, those damages are given the rating of the 5. Okay, this is how we do the impact rating. And we also, by the attack class, we also try to understand that whether this attack is actually feasible, what level of knowledge the attacker need for performing this attack, and how easy it is to perform this attack. Okay, so if that attack is easily performed, the feasibility rating will be high. Okay, and with this feasibility rating and the impact rating, the risk is determined. Okay, so if you have the high feasibility rating and high impact rating, you have the high risk. And if you have the low feasibility rating and low impact rating, you have the low risk. Okay, and depending upon the risk, when you identify the risk, the damages which have the most risk, you need to mitigate those first. Okay, and it is really very important to clearly mention what mitigation strategy you have used. Okay, and this is the actual practical method that is followed into your industry. I think this is followed in all the security industry, and same is in the automotive industry. Let's move further. The standards which provides you all this information of performing the threat and risk analysis is, as I told you, is ISO SAE 21434. This is the ISO. Okay, and this discuss about what method you need to follow from the start of development till the production, and after the production during the maintenance phase, what are the methods you need to followed, and what are the things that you need to take care, what are the responsibilities, what is the process that need to be followed. Okay, this provides you information about. Okay, it says that the aim is to provide the guidelines on how to manage the automotive cybersecurity. Similar to how ISO 26262 is basically the safety standard, manages the functional safety on the road. Okay, so it is similar to these two standards go hand in hand. ISO 21434 and ISO 26262. Both are related to the user safety. Okay. So basically, cybersecurity management is taken care into this ISO, the ISO 21434, and a method of risk identification has been told. Okay, so a method of the threat and risk analysis has been defined into this ISO. So once you will go through this ISO, you will understand the method which is basically followed in the automotive industry to perform the risk assessment and to manage from the top level to the down level. So how the project should be managed in terms of cybersecurity, everything has been detailed in this ISO. Okay. If you talk about the contents, the most important points in this ISO defines the concept phase and the product development phase and the supporting process phase. So product phase, concept phase is something when you define your goals and define your cybersecurity requirements, what you actually need to implement in your ECU, and product development when you actually implement those requirements and test them. Okay, this is your product development phase. Fine. In your supporting process, it defines and lists the management system to support. Cybersecurity assurance level classification scheme is defining, and it's essentially a measure of how rigorous cybersecurity requirement should be for a particular item. Okay, depending upon the SL. Okay, so if you have the CAL level and the SL level, you should be able to identify that what level of cybersecurity and the safety you need to implement. So this is the ISO which is followed in the automotive industry, and it is considered as the Bible for being followed. Okay. Okay, let's talk about the evolution of the field, how this automotive field is changing. So till now we were discussing about the technical aspect of this field, how we are implementing the cybersecurity, what are the future aspects, what technical things need to be considered, how these technical things need to be implemented. Now let's talk about the evolution in this field, how this field is changing with the time. Okay, so in 2000s, if you see, the cars have thousands of transistors. The switching was going on. Then only 100,000 lines of ports were there. Their diagnostic was manual. Limited connectivity was there. Your radio and radio services were digital. Okay, and then you have basic human-machine interface. No cyber threats were there. Then a new era came of 2015 when from thousands of transistors it came to billions of transistors. Okay. Now, more SOCs are employed. Billions of transistors means more SOCs are employed now. Okay, you have more number of ECUs in your vehicle. Now, previously it was 100,000 lines of code. Now it is 100 million lines of code. Okay, if you draw the code lines, literally they are huge. Sometimes your code size goes into MB. Okay, so you have the automated diagnostics. Then you have the moderate connectivity. The connectivity has advanced in 2015, but it is in moderate level. Okay, your apps integration came into picture. Limited virtual assistants were there, not very much, but limited virtual assistants had started in 2015, and basic cybersecurity was coming into picture. If you go to the future, that is 2030, if you talk about, then there will be quantum transistors, your quantum computing will come into picture, your artificial intelligence, all those will come into picture. The code will be of billions of lines. Okay, there will be self-diagnostic, your vehicle will be able to self-diagnose itself, and at some level it will be able be able to correct itself. Okay, it will be able to resolve its problem. Okay, this is also going into picture. Then you have your integral connectivity. Okay, previously it was mod weight, now you have your integral connectivity coming into picture. You will have your connected services, so your IoT and everything will be there. You will have cybernetic now will come into picture, which is literally another stream. Okay, and cybersecurity will be a default feature. It needs to be implemented. It is something which not to be considered something different. By default, when you are developing an ECU, it will automatically be a part of the requirement. Okay, and this is how your automotive industry is changing with the time. Right. If in terms of timeline, if you see this evolution, if you see, okay, the increasing complexity of the automotive system, a simple mechanical vehicle are changing to an intelligent, connected, and the software-based system. Okay, Previously, it was a simple system. Now it is becoming more and more complex. Okay. Evolution of number of ECUs, electronic control unit, that is per vehicle, it is increasing. Okay. In 1997, it was just 5 ECUs in the Audi A6. In 2007, it was 50 ECUs in Audi A4, and today it is 80 to 100 ECUs per vehicle. If you will see into the high-end luxury vehicles, it is 80 to 100 ECUs. Okay, so you can understand that what level of complexity are increasing into the field of automotive. Okay, now recent changes into the vehicle electronic architecture, if you talk about, then migrating from dedicated ECUs only to one function to distributing function across the ECU. Okay, so there is something which is called the service SOAM IP. Okay, SOAM IP is your service discovery. Okay, so let's say your one ECU will provide one service. Okay, then other ECU will subscribe for this service and get this service available for them. So means that each individual ECU will not implement everything. Okay, there will be a centralized mechanism where one ECU will implement one functionality and it could be distributed among all the ECUs. Okay, so this is what coming into the future, and leveraging centralized high performance controller. So now more high performance controller are coming into the picture. Microprocessors are being employed into the automotive industry also. Okay, so central gateways and all those things, if you see, are over very high, 32-bit microprocessors. So in terms of timeline, in comparison to 1975 till future 2025, if you see, the electronic injection system, fuel injection system was there, anti-locking was there, and brakes used to be there. And these many functionalities are increasing. You can see the list, how the list is increasing with the time. Okay, and this list is going to increase more with the time. Okay, so this is just to show you how functionalities are growing with the time, and in upcoming time there will be more functionalities. Okay, related to the functionalities like ADAS and system safety, infotainment, body electronics, powertrain and telematics. This is how again your evolution is going on, and we are here somewhere where the ADAS is not that high. Okay, basically infotainment system, body electronics, powertrain are taking the major place. But as the time grows, your ADAS, if you see, and your infotainment system will take the major place. Okay, somewhere it will be your powertrain, but your ADAS and your infotainment system will be majorly responsible, will be very cybersecurity, sensitive. These two things will be very cybersecurity sensitive. Your ADAS and safety system and your infotainment system, because these are the two systems which are going to communicate with the external world for a vehicle. Okay, so these are the two systems which takes the major part of the cybersecurity in the vehicle. Okay, now let's move further. Why cybersecurity is considered to be important or has come to prominence for several reasons? Because the reason is the vehicles on the road are vulnerable to hacking. We have already seen that. Okay, both in the car itself and the via backend IT system to which they are connected. Okay, now hacks into the cars have attracted a lot of media attention. Okay, so this is one of the reasons that media is talking lots about these cars being hacked and how easily they have been hacked, what could be the possible effects. Now, when the media talks, these things come into picture of everyone. Okay, everyone start thinking about it. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why it is becoming very prominent. Okay, so now OEMs are also becoming aware about the need of the secure way. Okay, and considering the future aspect, future IoT things, OEMs are want to become ready for all those things, so that they should not be facing any challenge at that time if they will get ready at this time. Okay, to reassure customer who fear cars will be easily hacked. So there are many things, many customers who think that these cars which have new functionalities could be very easily hacked. Okay, to avoid this fear, they are getting ready now at the time. Okay, it's not only the security of the vehicle, it's that it is attracting attention. Okay, because everybody is talking about it, so it is attracting the attention. When it attracts the attention, it could be possible that it is also attracting the attention of the attackers, of the hackers, and they start working over it. Now it is a right time to start thinking about it and start securing the vehicle. Okay, the security of the manufacturing plant is also a growing concern. There are two main threats being vehicle integrity and the production line availability. These are the two main threats over which your OEMs are working in to secure for their manufacturing. Okay, so it is also a part of the automotive cyber industry. But anyhow, the manufacturing is completely a different, study topic in terms of the cybersecurity. There are different methods and different things need to be followed for securing a manufacturing plant. Okay, so that's why, because of all these reasons, the cybersecurity is becoming a prominent topic. Fine. Let's talk very quickly about the career path and the job opportunities. Okay, so if you talk about the skills required, okay, now there are many positions which are similar to that of the position in general security aspects. So there is chief information security officer, chief security or CSO, chief security officer is there. You have the security engineer. So you have different job positions which are becoming, more and more prominent into the area of the automotive cybersecurity. That is similar to that of the other fields of the cybersecurity, like security analyst is there, your penetration testers is there. So even your threat hunters are there. Bug bounty programs are also there. So freelancers are there who works over these kind of bug bounty programs and could earn loads of money. Okay, so there is loads of scope in the field of the automotive cybersecurity. It is a new upcoming field, and you have loads of job opportunities in this field. Literally, at the present, if you talk about, I personally know that the tier one OEMs, tier two, everyone is looking for the people who could work over these things, and there is literally very scarcity of these of the people who have this knowledge. Okay, so this is a good time to understand that what you need to know. Okay, so if you need to be an ethical hacker and understand all the internal components in the vehicle that could be exploited, okay, which includes, if you talk about internal components, it could include your over the air updates, your ransomware attack, your electronic ECUs. So attacker can use your ECUs, include the engines of all type of ECUs. What are the communication methodologies? How those ECUs could be compromised? You need to know these things. Okay, then you could also go for the cloud security in cloud security, so cloud service provider, because OEMs are employing these clouds for maintaining their database, for acting that it as a secure server, secure update, all those things. Okay, so cloud is also coming majorly into the picture of the automotive. Okay, then distributed denial of service attacks could be possible. How remote hacking could be possible. So wireless carjacking is there, key fob cloning is there. All those things are going on literally. Okay, you need to understand. You have to understand all those things. Then another thing could be the IoT, how to secure the IoT devices. Okay, so vehicle tracking is there, GPS jamming is there, onboard Wi-Fi spot. What could be the possible threat and vulnerabilities related to the onboard Wi-Fi spot? Okay, then relay and spoofing attack are there. Ultrasonic sensors attacks are there, where your data which is sent by the ultrasonic sensors could be manipulated, and which will change completely the calculation of the ECUs, and which could impact the functionality. Okay, so all these things comes into the attacks on the IoT device. Then you also need to understand how vehicles connected components work together. What are the various ECUs in the vehicle itself? How are the vehicles remotely connected? How does the vehicle to X or vehicle to infrastructure? Vehicle to X is vehicle to infrastructure and vehicle to vehicle both. Okay, vehicle to X model connect to the vehicle. Okay, so how this model works. Okay, these are the points that you need to understand. Fine. Then what are the, again, going further into this discussion, you need to understand the cyber side and also understand the forensic analysis side and know what alert need to be generated and what are the telematics information that are shared. Okay. Lastly, the thing is that what should the fresh graduates do to start their career? They could go on to take on, there are many, cybersecurity essential courses. You can take on those courses and build your understanding. There is much scope of the cybersecurity, graduates and freshers who have this knowledge of the automotive cybersecurity. There's literally much scope in the market at the time. Okay, and you need to be familiar with the hardware steps like Raspberry Pi or Arduino and build your own lab. And you can simulate the thing. You can go on understanding what could be the possible, methods by which your system or your automotive things could be compromised. There are stuffs which are available. I have my personal lab in which I have a device which is called the Hack RF1. Okay, this is a software defined uh, RF sniffer. You can say you can sniff the data and you can again send the data. So you can do many things with the things which are available using this Raspberry Pi board and the Arduino board. Okay. So you need to create your own lab and start developing your own understanding. Okay, so this is what the fresh graduates could do. And I think that's all from my side.